It's Jay Lethal, the Blend Machismo, and whoa, the Nature Boy, and you're listening to the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Potsy Fans Network brings to you as tag team champions of the world, the Potsy and Tino Show. That's right, the Potsy and Tino Show. That Tino stopped all of a sudden. I'm Rob Potsy Potchak. He is Tino Gray. Our theme song is always brought to you by Adam Southcats. Called the Wrestling Songs, available on iTunes for 99 cents. 99. And Tino, we always start the show with a little segment. What are you drinking? You got a little something there, huh?
That's a little captain. Little captain.
It's a little what?
Little captain. What you got?
Oh, nice. So, Tino, you see what the screen says? It says, what's up with you?
What's up with you? I'm trying to think about back last week, and it's just weird. We had kind of a rough week to begin with. I don't know if I told you off air. One of our because I'm a youth leader, I'm a youth leader with the kids from my church, and I do high school. So the middle school boys leader, his name is Dave, and his son Jacob, who is Haley's age, the exact same birthday, back in early September. We got a message that they got COVID. Their house got COVID, and then a couple of days later, Dave and his son Jacob ended up in the hospital, and it started going downhill from there. So got the call Tuesday that Dave passed. So it went rather quickly, with a couple of weeks, but his son's still in the hospital, and they had him hooked up to a ECMO machine, which I don't know if you know what that is. That's the machine that it pumps your blood out of your body, oxygenates it, and then pumps it back in. Pretty much does the work of the heart and lungs, pretty much. So he was on that. We got word today that he is showing signs of he's doing better. He's on an uptake. So we're hoping that continues to go. So we're just praying for him. Still, because he had it so rough, he still has no idea about his father. So we've been praying for him and hoping that he gets better, and just sending love out to his wife and his daughter, because he's having a hard time. And then so that led into the weekend. We do youth group on Sunday, and we had to switch it around and change and try to talk to the kids and see how they are and make sure they're okay. So that's why it was a rough week this week, because also Matthew is in middle school. So that was Matthew's leader. So we're trying to deal with him and make sure he's okay. So other than that, like I said, that was rough. I did have a bright spot. I went Saturday with our friend of the show, Jason Ingram. We went to Concord to the XPW indie show.
You got to meet Murder Grandpa?
Got to meet Murder Grandpa. I got pictures. Murder Grandpa, Murder Hawk Monster, and Caleb with a K made a surprise visit. He's in a tag team for that, I guess, for that company. So it was cool to see him. But he was Caleb, whatever his name is. It wasn't even the whole the personalities are totally different, and so it was just weird watching him wrestle as himself, and not the comic gimmick that he has on Impact. We had a blast, and it had also.
Did Jason get out of control?
No, actually, he didn't. He was funny though. Because we were so close. He would yell out to the wrestlers, and some could hear him. Who was the dude on AEW that comes out with the best friends now. The Yodo. No. The
I know who you're talking about.
so
I
he
don't
was.
know his name.
I can't remember his name. Yuta, I think it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah, like something Yuta.
yeah,
Jason Yuta,
I don't remember what it was, but
Justin Yuta.
he was wrestling, and it was when they first came out, and Jason like, Yuta, you got this, you can do it. And Yuta looked up, and he goes, "Thank you." It was just awesome. So it was so cool because they were interacting with us. The cool part about it, so where we were sitting, it was so the barricades, right? But ours where we were sitting, and I was on the end, right by me, it had the opening. I'm like, somebody's gonna come through here. Well, they were feeding the cables to the cameras through there too. But sure enough, during the Caleb with the K mat, no, it was another match, this big dude. They threw him to the outside, and I noticed that they had some dudes come up behind me and they were cheering. And I realized, oh, and it ended up being like, I guess they're the young boys for one of the guys in the ring because I heard him say, "Get off my trainer." They picked this dude up, and this dude was a big dude. He was about 265, 270, and power bombed him onto these guys that were literally right here next to me. And I could reach down like, "Are you okay, bro?" You know. So that was the first one, and then the second time, because I'm still recovering from my knee thing, and so there's this fence here, and I was worried they're going to go in. Well, sure enough, somebody whipped the dude.
Slammed the fence into you, didn't they?
But I was sitting, I saw it coming, so I was able to like kind of brace the railing. It was still cool as hell. So we were right up and personal. Murder Hawk came out. Jason is yelling at Murder Hawk. I'm like, "You're gonna die." He did his whole thing where he knocked somebody else, but he went on the other side of the thing and knocked the dude out. I'm like, dude, he's gonna come knock Jason out because Jason was hollering at him. I'm like,
I told you, man, when it comes to those smaller shows, Jason's sitting front row. Like you gotta watch out. And we love Jason. Jason was on the show a couple weeks ago, but we absolutely told everybody, hey, when you go to a show with Jason, be prepared. Be prepared to be the guy that gets on TV because you're yelling at the wrestlers.
Oh, he definitely yelled at all the wrestlers, and he's yelling at the bad guys, and you suck, and that's why I'm like, that dude's like right there.
Is it just me, or does Jason remind you? And if Jason's watching, I apologize for this. I don't really, because he just reminds me of this. Doesn't he remind you of like whenever you hear the story about how like a wrestler learned to watch wrestling from their grandma? Jason's like the grandma, like don't you be hitting on my boy, don't you be doing that, like and that's Jason. That's what he's doing.
I think I got just of a big a kick out of sitting next to Jason and just listening to him interact and watching him. He's like me. He's like just a kid. We're like both of us are like kids in a candy store, and just
but you reserve it. You hold it back because you're like,
yes.
And he's sitting there. He's like, "Oh no, you don't do that." and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts.
We had a blast, and of course, we were talking about, and on the road there, I knew it was coming. We started talking about the Shimmer and all the different shows he watches, and then we got into the Oscars and the female Japanese wrestlers and all that stuff, and just to listen to his enthusiasm, and it was cool because
dude, he sent me a Facebook message today that was I guess two female Japanese wrestlers, and he sent me a video, and I still haven't watched it yet because I just haven't had time.
It's probably the one you got to watch this. If it's the one I think it is, he showed me. I was like, oh my god! It was this one Japanese lady doing a Bronco Buster.
Sorry about that.
What was that?
Well, I was getting ready to show you my what's up with me, right?
Oh, so there's another. She's doing a Bronco Buster, and if it's the one I'm thinking is, you got to watch this Bronco Buster because it is hilarious. But other than that, man, I can't. It was pretty much
pretty chill week.
Chill week. Just kind of Not too much going on. So what's up with you?
So I had a lot going on with me.
All that noise in the background. I think so.
Well, so earlier tonight, you know, I bought the iPad.
You bought it tonight?
No, I bought it last week.
You said
I bought
earlier
it
tonight.
right before our show went on last week, right?
You're like, earlier tonight I brought the iPad.
Shut up. That is not what I said or how I said it. But now tonight, for example, I drew Batman. Let's
Can't really see it.
Let's see if we can.
There it is. Oh, time lapse.
Yep. So I time lapsed the entire drawing of Batman, and it had music, which was like the cartoon music, but we'll leave that out. It's
that just amazes me, dude.
Well, it's not done yet. Gotta give it some time.
No, just that you can do that. I can't draw with a leg. So in the short time that the time lapse, how long was the actual time it took you to do that?
About 30 minutes.
And that all happened right there in about 30 seconds.
Well, it was a minute, because it actually shows me how long it takes the time lapse to do it. What I've noticed is Procreate downscales the image so that when it's doing its time lapse, it's not nearly as high quality as when you're drawing it.
Right.
But it's still cool because I like doing time lapses anyway, right? Like that's what my entire TikTok page is. So like that Batman that I just showed is now on my TikTok. But you know, like some of the other stuff that happened to me this week's pretty interesting. Like Wednesday of last week, I got a call from my boss, and she was like, "Hey, I got good news for you. When do you have time to actually talk on the phone?" And I was like, "Oh, we can talk like now." And then of course she was like, "Oh, I can't talk now because I'm on a call." And then I was like, "Okay, well, like call me in like 15 minutes." And then she goes to call me in 15 minutes. I'm like, "Oh, I'm on a call. I can't talk now." Blah blah blah. You know, so Chris Barrett's in the audience. I picked Bob Backlund with the first round draft pick. You did pick Bob Backlund multiple times with that first round draft pick, Chris. We'll get to that shortly. We're obviously still in the "What's Up with You" portion of the show. So if you want to chime in with "What's Up with You," we'll go ahead and we'll tell everybody in the audience out there what's going on with Chris Barrett. So anyway, she goes, "I got good news for you," and I'm like, "Awesome," you know. So I started text messaging a couple people because I asked them to apply for the job, right? And they told me, "Hey, I hadn't heard anything back from them or whatever." I'm like, what could possibly be good news here? And my boss gets me on the phone and she goes, "They gave you a raise." And I'm like, "Awesome." And she goes, "Yeah." And it's just like what we call a market correction. And she's been with the company like 7 years, right? So she's like, "This is the first time I've ever heard them do this." And I'm like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's basically saying that they did an independent audit and other places were paying more for the same thing that you do, so they gave you a raise." And Tino, have I complained about how much money I make?
No.
Not a single time, right?
No.
So
you're making pretty good money.
So they gave me a raise.
That's awesome.
And I still have the ability to get an end of year raise.
That's amazing.
So I don't want to say the exact figure, But last November, when I left GameStop versus where I am now, and I've been given 2 raises since I started my new job now. Now, the new one actually doesn't go into effect until October 10th, but they're giving me the raise. They basically told me that I make over $7,000 more now than I made at GameStop. And that's if I don't work overtime.
Damn.
And last week I worked an hour and a half of overtime. This week I'll probably work an hour and a half of overtime. So I mean, I don't work 44 hours like I used to at GameStop, but like when the overtime's offered, I still take it because it's substantial.
Yeah.
And I'm hourly, so like why not, right?
Yep.
But it's crazy. My brother-in-law Shane sat there and he goes, "Hey, congratulations. We're going to pay you more because we weren't paying you enough."
Yep. That's what it sounds like.
But the way I look at it is like they didn't tell me whether or not it bumps me up to the minimum or if it bumps me to like the midpoint of the position. And honestly, I don't care because I made less money before and now I make more, right?
Right.
But it's interesting to me because it's got me sitting there going, the company is preemptively saying, we're going to fix this so that you don't go somewhere else.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, because how many companies do that?
Not many.
Yeah, so there's that. And then if you saw me messing around with papers that are all ripped up and everything, it's because 2 weeks from now we got Fayetteville Comic-Con. Which, by the way, Tino, if you want to come hang out Fayetteville Comic-Con, let me know.
What's the date?
16th and 17th.
Hey, you always do it on days I'm playing.
I mean, I do it on weekends, so it's when there's conventions. So
yeah, I play them.
But anyway, the whole thing, the papers that you saw were basically printouts of pages and testing like whether or not I could actually print out what we call an ash can in the comic book industry, which is a quick printout version of a portion of your book. So if your book's not ready to come out yet, but you still want to sit there and like advertise your book or anything else. So all these ripped up pages right here are all part of an ash can for the book that I am going to announce at Fayetteville Comic-Con. So the plan now is to print at least 25, if not 50 copies of the ash can, which makes it extremely rare.
Right.
And only available at that show. So it allows me to sit there and print up to 50 copies of it. And, you know, bought this really nice printer right here, right next to me. You've seen it. It allows me to sit there and print 25 to 50 copies of it, sign number, you know, like, so it'd be a 1 of 50 or whatever, and then each copy will be signed, and then I'll sell them at the show.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm planning on doing that. I got to make sure I've got enough paper. And here's what's funny is I printed out like the first copy that actually came out okay. And I was like, oh, it looks great, you know, blah, blah, blah. 2 of the pages are screwed up, so I gotta fix the editing on that. No big deal. Gotta fix the editing on that. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't have a stapler. So I can't staple the books together.
How do you? Oh,
Well, I just moved into the house. I probably do have a stapler. In fact, it might even be in one of these drawers right here. Like, because this is where, you know, I've stapled everything in the past and whatever. But I can't find it. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, shit, guess I got to go buy a stapler this weekend. So I'll buy a stapler. I'll print out 50 copies of the book. I'll put the book together myself. I'll do all of this extra stuff to get the book ready to go.
that's cool.
Well, solicitations for this specific book that I'm announcing at Fayetteville are due tomorrow.
Are you ready?
3 of the 4 covers are in right now. The main cover, so the number one, like the main cover.
Is that the one you sent me?
No. That's going to be I think that's going to be the B cover.
Okay.
And we call it the secret revealed cover. Okay.
Yeah.
The A cover by the actual artist of the series, I thought him and I had discussed, and he said, "Oh, I can get that done." Well, I asked him yesterday, I'm like, "Hey, do you have the colors for the cover done?" And he said, "I didn't know I needed to. I thought you were going to have the guy that's coloring the series or the issue do it." And I was like,
ah, damn.
I'm like, So as soon as I got off work today, I was sitting there like using my iPad and I colored the cover. And I thought it came out awesome. But then he sits there and he goes, "I'm going to take everything that you did and I'm going to sit there and like play around with it and I'm going to color it myself and blah, blah, blah." So he's been working on another version of it. And we still don't know whether or not the guy in the Philippines that I hired is going to have his version of it done on time, because he's got to have it in tomorrow to have it ready to go. And yet I don't know if he's going to get it in on time because he hasn't responded to me, which also makes me want to sit there and go, "Hey, you already agreed to do the entire book, and now you're already not getting stuff done on time. So do I keep you? Do I try to find somebody else? Like, what's the deal?" You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
It's a struggle. And this is why this is why my loop of people that I actually like work with consistently, I know get work done on time. So none of us are necessarily the best at what we do. We're not Bret Hart, but
CM Punk,
right? We're best in the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're consistent, and we always hit our deadlines. And that's where like I hate working with people that I offer money to, because oftentimes I don't offer money up front. I offer percentage of profit. And it's all based on how hard we push the book and everything else. Because at this point, Tino, you've seen it. I've been like, shit, I was actually very popular with that book. You know, that book outsold blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Got me into the top 50 in independent books or whatever, you know, this, that, all that stuff going on. And yet, you know, you still got to find people that want to work on the stuff. And it's tough. And all of a sudden it's got me sitting there going, did I hire the right guy? And I don't know. And I'm hoping he still turns his version of the cover in, because the cover that I showed you was awesome.
I love.
I mean, I got a printout version of it right here, which I'll show the crowd. It's backwards. I'm not going to show the crowd.
I was wondering.
Oh no, it just doesn't show up on the screen. But you know, like I'm the type of person that like I really want to hit with high end quality and everything else, make deals with people and work out like, hey, this is what I'm offering. If you want to get your book published, if you want to get, you know, published or whatever because you haven't been published before, I can make that happen. This is how we're going to do it, blah blah blah.
You can call for a POP.
Percentage of profit is what
Ah,
Chris Barrett's saying. And Chris Barrett, interestingly enough, you know, I showed everybody the Batman drawing I did earlier, and I'm using Procreate now on this iPad, and interestingly enough, I'm getting to the point where like pretty soon I don't know if I'm going to need a colorist, you know, because I did this picture of the Joker the other night, and I time lapsed it and put it on TikTok, and it's got over 300 likes now. You know, so like it's getting to the point where you know, if I continue getting that kind of
1%.
Chris Barrett, you're selling yourself short if you only want 1% for. Now, granted, you gotta show me what you're actually capable of doing, because if it's not professional quality, 1%'s more than you deserve. But if it's highly professional, then 1% is less than what you deserve.
So are you glad you got that iPad now? You were bitching about, oh, it's so much money.
I told you all along I'm gonna sit there and have buyer's remorse for like the first year.
Oh, so
You know?
first year, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a $750 investment that by the time you're done buying it, you spend $1,200 on it. You know, because you got to buy the insurance, you got to buy the screen protector, you got to buy the case, you got to buy the pencil, you got to buy all that stuff, and by the time you're done, you're like, shit, that was really expensive. Like, why hasn't Apple decided, hey, we know that the comic book industry likes using our shit. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and offer comic book professionals an all-in-one package for $1,100. So instead of $1,200 at Best Buy or whatever, we're going to offer it $1,100, and then we can even say Rob Potsy Podcheck uses our product if they want to. Like, why not, right? Like, why not come up with a licensing agreement and a you know, marketing thing or whatever? I don't know. We're here to drain your wallet. Yeah, that does seem to be what the case is. I will say this, and Tino, you know my opinion on Apple. I hate the company. I hate it.
And everything I own is Apple.
They make everything in terms of trying to create comic book work extremely easy. And it upsets me. Not that Apple does that, but that no other company has replicated it to allow me to get an Android or a Windows device. It annoys the shit out of me. It really does. And you know, we're already half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever, into the show, and we haven't talked wrestling at all. And yet I hate the fact that, worried about the fact that I might not have a cover to go to solicitation, I decided to color it myself using the iPad, and I immediately sent it to someone I know that is a a legitimate graphic designer, and he said, that shit looks professional. And Tino, I'll show it to you off air, because again, I'm not announcing the comic until Fayetteville Comic-Con. But I mean, like, I put good work in, and it made it really easy to do certain things that I thought were going to be difficult to portray in the artwork. Right. And it blew my mind, because I'm not using customized pens or anything else, like, because Procreate allows you to create your own pens if you want to. So if you want something that works exactly the way that you work physically, digitally, you can make that happen. I haven't done that. I'm literally using the base set and everything else, and yet I put together a cover that was drawn but black and white. Then I legitimately sat there and said, this can go to press tomorrow.
Wow.
And I showed it off to a couple people, and they were all like, shit, you did that? And I'm like, I didn't draw it, but I colored it today. And they're like, damn, that looks good. Oh, okay, cool. So it's pretty crazy to think about all that. So I go to press tomorrow with my Star Wars parody, which is not officially announced yet. And I'm going to announce it at Fayetteville Comic-Con, either the 16th or 17th. It's a fun project, man.
Like, I can't wait till you announce it, God, because I love the premise. I can't wait for you to announce it so we can talk about it. I love the premise of it.
Well, tonight I had to write what's going to be seen as the premise, right? So it like what comic book shops are going to order the book from. I had to write that tonight, and I was like, I've already been talking about it and everything, so I just had to take what I had been talking about and kind of like mold it so that way it's going to be something that people sit there and go, well, shit, I want that, right?
Chris Bear said you just announced it. Now, no, he didn't announce it. He kind of told you what it was, but he didn't announce it.
No. I didn't announce the actual title, or I didn't announce what the book's about or anything else. It is a Star Wars parody, and I have said that in the past. I mean, shit, I wrote this book February of last year, March of last year, maybe. Like, it's funny because it almost reminds me of, like, I think I wrote it when I was stuck at GameStop, and GameStop wasn't letting people into the store, but I still had to go there for 9 hours a day. And I didn't have anything to do because my store was already clean. So it was like, well, shit, I'm going to write a comic book. Like, why am I not going to use this time to help push me, like, whatever. So I started doing that. Chris Barrett said, well, in my defense, I really only pay attention to the wrestling stuff.
And we appreciate that.
Well played, Chris Barrett. Well played. But and Tino's drinking rum, so I don't know what's going on with him tonight.
Yeah, I said it's just been an interesting.
So, Tino, I know that you want to get off here kind of early tonight.
We'll go and play it by ear. Yeah, I would like to, because I got to be up at 5:30 in the a.m. But we'll play it by ear, see what's up.
Now I want to go ahead and explain that to people. Tino did not mention to Rob at all that he needed to be up at 5:30 in the morning.
You know why? You want to know why? Because usually
because you knew it wasn't going to matter.
Because we're supposed to start at 8, and I figured we start about 8:15, 8:25. I was just like, I didn't want to go past. So what happens?
What had happened was,
what everybody that watch these shows will agree with me. What happens is, I have in my mind, okay, we're going to do about an hour and a half, maybe hour 45. And then this guy gets to going, and next thing I know, it's 11:15, and then you guys don't see it. We go off the air, and he's still going for another 30 to 45 minutes. Yes, sir.
You normally ask me about other stuff, and of course, don't you bullshit. Don't you bullshit. Oh, you're fucking bullshitting now.
Everybody who watches this show knows Tino's the
This
quiet.
guy,
Tino's the quiet
sits there.
Old scratch. I was reading Chris Barrett's thing. Oh, now he's going to be quiet, you little asshole. That's not going to last long.
No, of course not, because the show's not going to be interesting if I don't. Asshole.
I love you.
So, Tino, did you know we didn't talk about like the idea that I had for the show for TikTok.
Yes, that'd be funny.
So I want you to explain it because I don't feel like talking right now.
Oh, just for being he's butt hurt. Now he's gonna be a crybaby. So, and it was a good idea. I thought it was cool. We have to go back and, God, like you said, I think we should get Sketchy Joe on that. But what Rob's saying is we should go back through the shows and find where we popped each other, where we made each other laugh, and put it on TikTok. And I think you do what the longest is 3 minutes. I doubt we
can
do
3 minutes now.
And I think that'd be funny of us just being ourselves and laughing and cutting up, and just have a montage, hodgepodge of just us popping each other, pretty much.
Yeah, I want to call it popping the co-host.
Yeah,
and just random moments of either Tino sitting there saying something that makes me laugh, which doesn't happen often, or me sitting there and saying something that makes him laugh, like. What was it last week when I sat there and said we're gonna glaze over it like a donut? and you kept talking after that, and then all of a sudden just went
because it hit me what you said.
And those are the natural ones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was totally thinking that, like, to really enhance the experience for the Potsy and Tino show, if we could get somebody that would tell us, hey, at this minute mark of your show, we noticed that this, Rob said something that popped Tino. And just throughout the entire episode, if we just get those moments, we're able to sit there and go, okay, I can capture all that stuff from YouTube and truncate the video and then post like a 2-minute video or whatever on TikTok, which would be those moments that everybody actually found, well, you and I found the most funny, but I would assume that those are the moments that everybody else finds the most funny too.
And I have to figure out, because I know we set up the TikTok and I have the password and username, but I can't figure out how to get on the TikTok. You know what I mean? How I could go from my account or switch accounts.
I have no idea how to do that on TikTok.
So unless we sign on as Potsy and Tino, like I said, I've been trying to figure that out since you said that. I'm like, I can't remember how. I know we have. Wait, switch account.
So I'm going to tell you that if you have an iPhone and an iPad, maybe leave the iPad logged in. Oh, you got the new one, huh?
I've had this one. No, this is the
13.
No. This is the 12 Pro Max.
Oh, so you don't have the new one?
No, I'm not getting that one. That's not nothing new, really.
I mean, it's not the iPad Pro.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got the iPad. I've got like I said, I've got all things Apple: the phone, the watch, the MacBook.
I mean, I'm going to start making NFTs and stuff, man. Like those time lapse drawings that I do. I'm going to start selling those. So, I don't care about the environment. I'll burn that shit to the ground. No, I'm kidding.
I don't think you have.
We all know that I pop y'all more than well, you yes and no, Chris Barrett. Let's go ahead and be honest. Chris Barrett does get us to pop every so often with his Bob Backlund references and Ming the Merciless and whatever. But you know, there you know what I'm talking about, Haku. But you know, like there's obviously moments where we just stop everything to sit there and look at what you wrote, Chris Barrett, and that's not necessarily a good thing, sir.
Not all the time, Chris Barrett. Sometimes I'm like Rob.
But we love you, and we want you to continue being on the show with us. I'm like
Rob, don't put that on the screen.
What's that?
I'm like sometimes like Rob, don't put that on the screen.
What did he write something else?
No, I'm saying sometimes like don't put that up on the screen.
Oh yeah. There's somewhere I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. So Tino, yeah. I don't have a GameStop story of the week this week.
Oh, so disappointing.
I know. I have to look back into my history and actually try to get some good ones. But you know, after a week off, we did get Stars Heels came back.
Yeah, what happened? I looked for it last Sunday and it wasn't the new one.
I was so mad. So like I went to watch it. I went to watch it and there wasn't a new episode. And then all of a sudden, like I went on Facebook and it was like, yeah, catch up on Heels because we're taking a week off. And I'm like, why the fuck are they taking a week off? Like, and the only thing I could think of, and I swear to God, Tino, it's just the greed of the company. Because
the Stars,
it gets you to buy the monthly thing twice.
No, you think?
It's gotta be.
Because we ain't buying it.
I'll tell you though.
I watch it off of you, off yours.
Did you watch it off of mine?
That's what I'm saying. I use your login to watch it.
And that's what most people do. They all have groups of people that sit there, and those companies understand that. That's why Netflix, like if you've got their 4K broadcasting version, it says 25 devices at one time.
Yeah, but you got to pay $20-something to get that a month.
I think it's 17, and I think I paid the 17 because I wanted the 4K version. But it's 25 devices at one time. So all you do is you sit there and go, okay, who are the other 23 people that I trust with my Netflix account? You know, like,
I think I have.
But that's the way it's always been.
It's like me, my wife, the kids have it in their room. I think my mom uses my account. So I mean, I don't put a whole lot out there.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. But like this past week, I signed up for Paramount and Showtime.
I got Paramount Plus. I love it.
Dude, how much do you pay for that?
I don't remember. I have to
do you pay for the no commercials version?
Yeah.
So you're
everything I have.
So you're paying 10 for that right now, okay?
Yeah, everything I have is no commercials. I can't stand those commercials.
So here's what's crazy. For $3 more, you can now add Showtime.
Really?
Showtime by itself is $11 a month, but you can add Showtime for $3.
On my Paramount?
Yup. And trust me, I did it because I wanted to watch Billions, because Billions is phenomenal.
What is Billions? I hadn't heard of that one.
So it's all about this billionaire that made all of his money during 9/11, right?
Right.
So you know that he's not exactly a straight up dude, but yet he's played by such a good actor, Damian Lewis, that you root for him. And then the U.S. attorney is played by Paul Giamatti.
Oh, God, I love that guy.
So another amazing actor. and you don't know who to root for. And season 5, which started in 2020 but got shut down because of the pandemic, finally ended just this week. So I was trying to figure out how to watch like the last 4 or 5 episodes of Billions, and come to find out that they started announcing this Paramount Plus Showtime deal.
Now, how did you find out about this show?
So when I lived with my sister, we had Showtime.
Right.
So there were commercials for it constantly.
What made you decide to do it?
And I was like, I already liked shows like Suits. So I was like, I'm gonna watch this show. And like 3 episodes in, I was like, fuck this shit, man. This is like the best show on TV. I'm hooked. I gotta watch it. And then I watched the very last episode that they've already done, and they throw the biggest curveball at you. And immediately after it, I started seeing articles about the curveball. And I was so mad because I'd already watched it.
It's like a spoiler, or you already watched it then?
I'd already watched it, so it wasn't a spoiler. But I was like, how could you do this to me? Because the 2 main actors for 5 seasons were the 2 main actors.
Oh shit, that song has been on that long? Billions?
Yeah.
Oh, frick. Okay.
Like 10 to 13 episodes a season kind of stuff. And they introduce a new guy in this season, and he's also a really good actor, right? It was the bad guy from the first Ant-Man movie. Corey Stoll is what his name is. Okay. And he's a really good actor, but you never think that the other 2 actors are ever going to have to worry about him because they're the major actors in the show, right?
Right.
And then they throw a curveball, and I don't want to ruin it, but so Jason Ingram says that he wants to join the show to talk about wrestling. So let me go ahead and link him in.
I haven't seen Hills this week, so.
Dude.
Is it the state fair finally?
No. But let me just say that it's like, what if Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman had a moment on screen in that time frame of like 1997.
I need to check that out. Okay. Yeah, Barrett, we're drafting tonight. What's up? What
is going on, my brother from another mother, Jason Ingram?
What's going on, folks?
How are you?
I heard you kept it in control a little bit at the PXW show.
Somewhat.
Tino said that you were still yelling and screaming at some of the heels, but for the most part, you didn't have to worry about getting beat up by the Briscoes.
Well, yeah.
Well, this is true.
I was telling him how you kept yelling at Lance Archer, and Archer went on the other side of the ring and hit that dude. I'm like, he's gonna come back and hit Jason too.
I ain't afraid of no Lance Archer. We have history, please.
and you have history?
Yeah.
What is the guy in the first match? He was.
Hold on. I want to hear about this history, Tino.
Oh yeah.
So before the pandemic hit, 2020 January, New Japan Pro Wrestling came to Durham, and
we were at that show.
Yeah. So Lance Archer.
You and I were at that show.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You remember when Lance Archer went up against Ren Narita?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He came over to like my corner like a few times. That was me, and I was just jaw jacking at him, daring him to hit me.
He's crazy.
Not only that, he got some of that water on me.
Well, you earned that water, sir.
Hey, shoot. He needs
Probably
to have
like water. You were lucky you got it.
shoot.
What I'm trying to tell you, what's the dude's name? The Yoda, is it Yoda?
Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler
Yuta. How you're like, you got this shooter. He said, thank you. He looked at you and said, thank you. It was just we were so close. I was telling him about the rail, and I thought I was going to get my knee busted again both times. The first time dude got thrown right beside me, and then they threw the dude into the railing. We had a blast.
Now, Jason, I'm going to tell you up front that I understand why you invited Tino to these events, but I was very disappointed that I did not get an invite.
See, I told you he's going to cry.
Because you know that I will go to these shows with you.
I told you he's going to cry about it.
True. Oh man.
Yeah. See, Jason feels bad now. He's like, I don't know Tino as well as I know Rob.
No, we had fun.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those. We were at the Raw show, and we were there, and was just caught up in the moment. And it just right then and there, I was just like, "Hey,
you embraced and you kissed and you did all that. Yeah,
caught up in the moment.
Don't be jealous.
I love how he just runs with it.
Don't be jealous, Rob. We joke because every time I go over to Rob's house, my wife is like, "Okay, Rob can only go to first base and all that other stuff." Rob's jealous. He thinks you're going to take his place, Jason. That's what it is. He's jealous.
You two aren't going to start.
What did I get myself into? That's what he's really thinking right now.
Hey, you two aren't about to start fighting little old me now, are you?
No, sir.
I want to do this. I want to do this.
Yeah, we're gonna do this.
We're gonna do this.
Ah, fair enough.
We're gonna Bobby Lashley you, and hit you with some hurt business, I guess. I don't know, but so
hey, hold on, Jason. Jason, Rob said you sent him a video. Is it the one I think you sent him? That one?
Eat it.
I can't wait for you to watch that, Rob.
What do I have to look forward to? Because Jason, I gotta be real with you. The reason why I haven't watched it yet is because I was worried that it was gonna be like some sort of like spam message, like somebody stole your password.
No.
Message.
No, it's legit. It's legit. Trust me.
I can't wait for you to watch that.
Chris Barrett says that I'm the baby face and I won't start any fights. So.
Yeah, Chris Barrett, you don't know Rob. Rob's a shit stirrer.
Oh, I'm totally. Hey, up until the pandemic, I was supposed to actually come out and start being a heel manager for a buddy of ours, and it never ended up occurring because like the pandemic hit, and I think that he decided that he just wasn't going to come back to pro wrestling because of it. But Big Phil, you remember Big Phil, Tino? Big Phil wanted me to come out and start being his heel manager. And I was like, I'll take chair shots to the back. But I won't, you can't mess with the moneymaker. No, it's legit what I said. That was like I was like, hey, here's the deal. I will come out. I will talk shit to the crowd and I will get heat.
I just want to be an announcer. Or
dude, do you mean like a ring announcer or do you mean like a commentator?
Either one.
Because I'll tell you, like commentary at pro wrestling is a lot harder than people think.
I agree.
I mean, Byron Saxton has had 5 years to try to get good at it, and he's still mediocre.
Well, I'll be an interviewer. I just be cool.
The most that I would be able to do is keep up with like calling out the move names, but like being like a little more detailed and consistent. That's where the challenge is for me.
Yeah, being able to tell the story as you're explaining the moves that are happening. Like the people that are really good at it are amazing at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like people want to get on Jim Ross for sitting there and saying WWE champion or saying, you know, like whatever he messes up, but yet 9 times out of 10 his call is right on the money.
Apparently, Chris Barrett is a world heavyweight champion. I want to see that link.
Yeah, Tino and I were actually thinking about getting tag team championship belts. You know,
really?
Because we launched the show saying we are the tag team champions of the world. So
he found a place to
I went from being a white meat baby face before I won the title.
What?
So anyway, I feel like it's important at this point, now that we brought Jason in, that we discuss the draft.
Okay.
If you guys want to talk about AEW first.
The only thing I want, and I think that was a couple weeks, was it last week that Arn Anderson gave that promo, or was it the week before?
Pow, pow, pow!
Yeah. That was a week. Was it a week before? I can't even remember.
No, it was last week.
It was last week.
The memes on that have gone. That I don't know if I was talking to you, Rob, or if I was talking to you, Jason. That I don't know where that came from, but that is old school Arn Anderson, and I was very, very not surprised, but I'm like, he really just cut that promo in the middle of the ring, and you saw the flicker, you saw it. I'm like, that's Arn Anderson. I was expecting to hit him with a double A spine buster.
I mean, he still can only do this.
Yeah. I mean,
like when he pulls that gun on somebody, he's still sitting there trying to figure out how to pull the trigger.
And I think it must have been Jason, because I was thinking he hit that promo.
Mm-hmm.
There's rumors that Flair's coming back to manage Andrade, and you got Tully Blanchard there. So I'm wondering if they all get together, if they're not the Four Horsemen, if they can form a stable with their mentors. I'd love to see. I was talking to Jason, like FTR would be definitely one of the main ones I like to go, because they are a Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard type of tag team,
and they're North Carolinians.
Yep.
So before I really let Jason dive into this, I do want to say that if this were to happen as part of the Pinnacle, it really does make sense. It really does make sense to put Arn, Tully, Rick together, and then really try to focus on 4 other wrestlers to be the new age version of the Horsemen. Because when you look at FTR already is the Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard of the Horsemen in terms of their work ethic and their style and everything else.
And then Aries,
MJF is the dirtiest player in the game, even though he's not necessarily the best worker like Flair was. He is the dirtiest player, right? So
that's 3.
So then if you put them with Sean Spears, or maybe you sit there and you take Wardlow and you make him the actual enforcer character of said Horsemen. And I'm not saying that you need necessarily just 4 Horsemen. Mm-hmm. In fact, technically, knowing what I know about trademark and copyright laws, they'd be able to trademark the 5 Horsemen.
Make it 5 instead of 4.
Arn can't do 5.
Well, he can. He just does this. He goes like this.
Okay.
But even still, like I truly think, and you know, Tino, you and I have talked about the possibility of Flair with Andrade, but he doesn't have to be with Andrade. He just has to acknowledge that he is cool with Andrade, so that way we don't have MJF versus Andrade, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all things considered, like they've already planted seeds. There's been a moment where Arn and Tully looked at each other from across the ring and just walked away rather than starting something. Now while we have the really cool biker jackets or vests for the Inner Circle, they just say Inner Circle Original, and it kind of does the Sons of Anarchy thing, so they don't really have to be together anymore. In fact, Tony Khan recently said, "I'm saying no. You don't split up the Inner Circle. You guys don't just have to be together."
Yeah.
You know, so when you need somebody will come out for you, but otherwise, like, there's no reason for you guys to technically split up, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of ROH when Red Dragon was doing their singles run. You know, Bobby Fish was TV champion, Kyle O'Reilly went after the world champion. But when they had the scuffle with the Bullet Club, of course, they reunited. You know, that sort of thing is what it kind of reminds me of. Not split, but, you know, when the time comes, yeah, we'll reunite the baddest team on God's green.
So Chris Barrett says that the Inner Circle is now aces and eights, and that is not the case, sir. That is not the case.
Nah.
While they are a biker gang in essence, which would be considered similar to aces and eights.
What was that? The Apocalypse in WWE when they did that.
The Disciples of Apocalypse.
The Harris brothers, remember? And they had the motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, you're using something though that is a legitimate thing in every aspect of the world, Hollywood and outside Hollywood, wrestling, whatever. That there are biker groups and they wear leathers and they actually patch up and everything else. So I love the fact that the Inner Circle is patched up, and yet they don't have to necessarily be all together. Although it was kind of nice seeing Jake Hager and Jericho team up recently, because you knew they didn't have to win that match because their tag team record doesn't give a fuck about who those guys are, right? Like, all they have to, like, those two guys are singles wrestlers. So their singles record is what matters. Their tag team record together nobody gives a shit about it.
Nobody, it doesn't matter.
Understandable.
You know? You're right. Aces and Eights were the coolest biker gang out there. Disciples of Apocalypse should have been with the Ministry. Weren't they with the Ministry at some point? Or did they get fired and that's why the Ministry started?
I think that's why the Ministry started.
I just remember that they had Naked Midian. That's all I remember.
Midian.
I wish I didn't remember that.
Oh man.
So when it came to AEW Dynamite, obviously we got that big Arn Anderson promo. Now no longer part of the Nightmare family.
Right. Going with that.
Well, more than anything, I think that they tried to tie it too much into Roads to the Top. I think that like now, if you listen to any of the interviews that are being given by Teal Rhodes, the daughter of Dusty, or anybody else, they all talk about how, like, as much as we respect Arn, did you ever really think that the Horsemen and the Rhodes would continue to get along forever? And it's extremely good storytelling from that aspect, but at the same time, you look at it and you go, but the new age wrestling fan doesn't know anything about the Rhodes and the Horsemen, right?
Correct.
So it's very difficult to tell that story without giving the perspective that goes along with it. So I almost wonder whether or not we're going to see more of that on roads to the top rather than on AEW programming.
Okay.
That's a good point, because yeah, that was the first episode that aired was the 29th.
I didn't watch it. Did you watch it?
It's insightful,
Mm-hmm.
but yet you wonder whether or not how much of it is real versus scripted, like reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way to describe it, I feel.
No, that makes sense.
And then was it Wednesday night or Friday night that Guevara won?
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday
because it was the 2-year anniversary. It was, or no, this week is the 2-year anniversary, but it was the it was the 1-year anniversary of John Huber's passing.
Yes.
May he rest in heaven.
Actually, no, I don't even think it was the 1-year anniversary. I think it was they finally got to do the show in Syracuse, New York.
They're supposed to do it a year and a half, and then COVID hit.
Right.
That's where he was supposed to.
That's when he was supposed to actually show up for the first time. And he did show up, but it was unfortunately at Daly's place rather than at where they originally planned. So I think that's what it was. That and they had -1 come out and do all that cool stuff with him. And of course, his favorite wrestler is Sammy Guevara. So Sammy Guevara ends up beating Miro for the championship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I feel like now I do get the mixed opinions, but I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. Miro had quite a great run, and he defended the crap out of that title. So,
for how long?
What was it? A good 5-6 months?
I don't know if it was that long.
I don't think it was that long.
You don't think it was that long?
I don't know if it was that long. What I will say though is my personal opinion on the passing and Miro being the champion. Like Miro was finally hitting his stride, is what I felt. Like,
but I think that's what it was. I think they built him up enough. I see Miro probably getting ready to hit the main event.
Oh,
sure.
So 140-day reign. So he had the second longest reign.
140 days is 3 months and 20 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was so Darby Allin's had the longest reign, and then Miro.
4 months and 20 days. I'm sorry, 4 months and 20 days.
So I mean that's a good amount of time. I mean, he defended it quite a bit.
You know what? I agree that it's a good amount of time. However, like Miro had 3 character changes during that title reign. He came in as the best man.
He was the best man,
but not when he had the title.
Well, but you know what I mean is that like he's taken a while to figure out who he is. I mean, when he came in, he was blonde, right? And everybody looked at him like, "What the hell's that all about?"
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a little bit.
I mean, any new character, any new place you go, you're gonna try to find yourself. You know, I mean, he hit his stride as the champion. He, like you said, he found himself, and I think that's going to help him when he does go, because he is going for that title. He's going for the title.
Well, I think that at this point he has established himself, and he now knows the character that will get him to the next level. And it took a while, because let's be real. Everybody, when he left WWE, was like, "This guy's over. He deserves a championship." And yet, when he came into AEW, he floundered for the first month and a half. You know, 6 weeks he sat there and he was like, "I'm the best man," and blah blah blah. And they kept putting him with Kip Sabian for some reason, and Penelope Ford and all this, and it was like, why?
He did also have a minor injury, but he didn't miss much time.
No, but Jason, you know as well as I do that like minor injuries can allow people to project their creativity. You know,
This
like
is true.
look at Randy Orton. Remember when Randy Orton first started and he like ripped the tricep or whatever, and all of a
Yep.
sudden it was Randy Orton was there every week. And he's like, I'm ready to go ahead and give my perspective on what's going on because Randy Orton is 96% healed, but he
Right?
can't come back until he's 100%. You know, and like it was such a dick move to sit there and say that because you know other people would be like, well, shit, I'm coming back like way early because if I don't, I'm going to lose my spot on the roster. And yet Randy Orton was able to be a heel and sit there and say the same thing and be like, I'm not coming back until I'm 100%. And right now I'm only 92%. Next week I might be 93%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So hell, you only change character once when you win the belt. I disagree, Chris Barrett, because if you remember correctly, a guy by the name of John Morrison won the ECW title as a character named Johnny Nitro, and then became John Morrison the next night.
Yep, sure did.
And I thought it was the worst thing ever to sit there and say, hey, this guy just won the title, but we're going to go ahead and totally fix up his gimmick while we're at it.
That Nitro gimmick was dumb, and I think they realized it. And the Morrison one, look how long he's been John Morrison now. You know what I mean? So,
well, except John Morrison has been a joke. Johnny Mundo and whoever else he's been, everywhere else that he's been a champion.
Yep, been a champion in Lucha Underground.
Impact.
Johnny Mundo, Impact. I mean, the highest that he's achieved in WWE is, I mean, aside from the ECW championship, was the Intercontinental title.
Or the tag team champions.
Right.
And it's sad because you legitimately saw Killer Cross versus Johnny Mundo, and you're like, oh my god, that match would be awesome. And then WWE does John Morrison versus Karrion Kross, and it's ended by a water pick.
Yeah.
So but anyways, let's talk about AEW Rampage.
Okay.
So AEW Rampage, the ratings are slipping. And I'm going to tell you that the first match of the night on Friday night was easily the best match on all of Friday.
Nick Jackson versus
Nick Jackson, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt, was, I mean, Daniel Bryan is going to have a 5-star match if he's wrestling Tony Schiavone.
Fair point.
And I'm sorry, Kenny Omega is not going to have a 5-star match wrestling Tony Schiavone. Nope. Daniel Bryan knows how to make everybody better. Kenny Omega knows how to make great.
I don't know. Like with a lot of the stuff he's done in Japan, the Wrestle Kingdoms, I can't 100% agree with you. I can't. I might. I like 40% agree with you.
Jericho carried him in that match they had.
I would actually say that Kenny carried Jericho.
You think?
I do. I did watch it, and I watched that match live, by the way, and it was 4:00 in the morning, and I watched that match live. And I'm going to tell you that yes, Kenny carried Jericho. However, Jericho at the point was 46 years old, going into that match or whatever. Like, I don't know how old exactly he was, but he hadn't been used to do that kind of match in a while. So he had to sit there and pull out all the stops and pull out all the tricks. And this is stuff that Kenny doesn't do. Kenny doesn't sit there and grab the camera and start videotaping other people. He doesn't sit there and beg the crowd for the reaction or anything. He doesn't do any of that stuff. That's all Jericho. So Jericho, in your case there, where you're saying that Jericho carried him, you're absolutely right, Tino. Where Kenny has to carry that match is Kenny is, at that point, he was the number 2 guy in all of New Japan. The only reason why he wasn't the number 1 guy was because he wasn't Japanese. And everybody talked about that. That's why he was the first North American champion or US champion for New Japan before he ever won the biggest title that there was. But when you think about it, like, the dude, he commands a certain respect, but it isn't like if you were to send Brock Lesnar over to Japan, Brock Lesnar is over to the moon. And the reason why is because he's a monster, right? So he's Godzilla, for fuck's sake. I mean, literally, he is Godzilla. And anybody he goes up against is going to have to face Brock fucking Lesnar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Kenny just doesn't have that same appeal, and the Japanese audience knows it. So, of course, he had to become the best wrestler on the planet to actually earn his spot in Japan because he's a white wrestler in Japanese wrestling. Jason, do you disagree?
Now that you break it down that way, it does kind of make sense. Like, so I get what you're saying in the sense that he pretty much, because, you know, more and more as he developed as a wrestler and, you know, became like one of the best wrestlers, you know, that's what really kind of set him off in his rise to the top. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, do you remember when Okada was in Impact Wrestling? Like, literally nobody really was sold on Okada in Impact Wrestling. But when he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling and became the Rainmaker, and of course, you know,
so yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree to a degree. When it comes to Okada is he's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
If he were in a match with Randy Savage and Randy Savage said, "Brother, we're gonna hit these 6'9", we're gonna 72 moves, we're gonna do this, that's the way it's gonna, yeah, brother, that's the dig it, we're gonna do it, yeah." Like, Okada would sit there and take those 72 moves or whatever it was, and they're gonna be perfect.
Okay.
Yet, if you don't sit there and advertise that this guy is the best wrestler in the world, it doesn't matter. And Okada probably is one of the 5 best overall 100% straight up shoot wrestlers in the world. I mean, Daniel Bryan is probably up there. AJ Styles is probably up there. Kenny Omega is up there. Mm-hmm. Okada's up there, and then I'll give a wild card to say I don't know who the number 5 guy is.
Kushida.
Who?
Kushida.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good point because Kushida does have that cruiserweight / MMA background.
Yeah, but I mean, like, anybody could be thrown into that 5th slot. You know, Seth Rollins could be thrown into that 5th slot. No. You say that, except you go back and you watch Tyler Black versus
Bingo.
Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, and you'll see that he as a technical wrestler is just as good as any of those guys. And yet,
Now,
I would even say that I would say that if you took those four guys that I just mentioned and then said Brock Lesnar's number 5, I'd also tell you that you're not wrong, because and this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize, and they've been talking about it recently, is that Brock Lesnar is one of the best salesmen for pro wrestling that's ever been. Because one, he's a legitimate prize fighter, right?
mm-hmm.
Legit prize fighter. 2, he is a multi-time world champion in multiple federations, including the IWGP world champion. And the story there is one that like I would tell you, go ahead and read it if you haven't read it, because it's amazing to read the story behind Brock Lesnar finally dropping that title. But you know, like it's hard to say who the top 5 true wrestlers in the world are. It's hard.
About Seth Rollins, would you say that he is currently still in his prime?
Easily.
Really? Okay.
Easily. In fact, he is so have you watched his Stone Cold interview?
I still have to see that. That's one of the only ones I've missed.
So he truly believes at this moment that he finally understands character development, and he finally understands where you take a character. And I'll tell you, when you think about it, you think about when he quit the Shield and he turned on them, and you think about when he stomped Brock Lesnar and won the title. Like, none of those times did he think that his character had something. And yet now he's bought in, and he has a character that tomorrow he could legitimately just on a dime and become a fan favorite again.
That's a fair point. That is definitely a fair point.
And I'll tell you, you might not like Seth Rollins, but you don't like Seth Rollins because they don't want you to like Seth Rollins. Not because Seth Rollins isn't someone that could easily be a babyface.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going to deliver whatever they want him to, right?
Right.
But now that drip god thing, he even says in the Stone Cold interview, he's like, that's all Becky. Becky sat there, and Becky wears these outlandish outfits all the time because that's just who she is. And I stole that, and now I do it too. And now I'm the drip god. And I'll tell you, he gets more heat from people hating his outfit than he gets for being an asshole. Because in most cases, he's not really an asshole.
I had a feeling Becky had some influence on that. I just knew it.
Did you see her green peacock outfit that she wore this week?
Oh,
yes.
I kind of took that as, we know she's going to get drafted to Raw because she's wearing a fucking peacock. I don't know if you guys took that as the same way that I did, but I legitimately was like, she's wearing a fucking peacock. She's going to Raw. Before any of the other stuff. Because all right, We hadn't talked about it yet. Here we go. Ready?
Hit it.
Let me go ahead and boom, SmackDown. Tino, I sent you a text message after the first 4 draft picks were announced. It was Roman Reigns, Big E, Charlotte Flair, and who was the 4th one? I don't even remember at this point.
Crap.
Drew?
No.
No, Drew was Monday night.
I don't
No,
remember.
actually, I think Drew was 2nd round. But either way, the point is that the first thing that I ended up sending to Tino was I called the first 4 draft picks.
Yeah, he did. And I'm like, I'm not watching it yet, so don't spoil it.
And I didn't send who it was. But like Chris Barrett says, Bob Backlund was drafted to Raw. He was not actually, but
you're talking about round 1 on Friday Night SmackDown?
Yes, the first 4 picks.
Big E.
No, Big E. I already said Big E. I said Roman Reigns, Big E, Charlotte Flair, and
Bianca. Bianca Belair.
Oh, Bianca. Yes. Wasn't it weird? And I hate the fact that they are like, oh, only certain people are available on the draft for this night or whatever. And granted, I get it because you don't want USA to be pissed off after Fox gets to sit there and say, hey, all four champions were drafted on Monday or Friday night.
Well, they can build a bridge and get over it.
What's that?
They can build a bridge and get over it. I mean,
no. But the whole point is that like you have 2 different networks and you have Fox sitting there. And what pissed me off about it, I was legitimately like, okay, you just announced Roman Reigns and Big E. Like if I was USA and I was Peacock and I was NBC Universal, I'd be pissed off at that.
Yeah.
Like why are you sitting there saying this guy's going to be on our show on a different network? Like that pisses me off. And that's the problem with the draft, right?
Yeah.
The problem with the draft. Like, first of all, the draft isn't a draft. It's basically saying, hey, we've got 700 talents.
We need to shuffle them again.
And we're going to shuffle them. So they ought to just call it the WWE Shuffle.
Right? That's pretty much what it is. I mean, in hindsight.
Except they call it a draft because every so often they end up calling some people up from NXT or apparently some people that don't even exist yet in the WWE realm, like Gable Steveson.
That was so weird that they made it look like an NFL draft showing the clip of him hugging his family. And so it's like, really?
I was like, they're going too far.
It's like, really?
Well, except, let's be real, folks. He's going to be the next Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it if they do what's right by him and they actually build him up to be an actual character. Like if he comes in and he's meant to be a baby face and he's just the Olympic baby face and blah, 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 that's garbage. Mm-hmm. But if they build him up Kurt Angle walked out his first night with gold medals around his neck, and they were the real gold medals that first night. And he walks out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they boo the shit out of him.
Yep.
Even though he told Vince McMahon straight up, my hometown, there's no way that they're ever going to boo me. And they booed the shit out of him because they made him seem like a heel. Right? Yep. And even to this day, as much as we love Kurt Angle, when that music plays, we all say, you suck. We all say it.
Yep.
And at this point, he understands and he loves it. Chris Barrett, actually, I believe he does live at home
He's like a
with his
senior in
parents right
college.
now. And the University of Minnesota, they're actually setting up a pop-up WWE training center for him.
This is his
Yep.
last year. This is his senior year.
But putting him
They're
on
gonna let him
Monday Night Raw,
They're still going to let him defend his because he's like the NCAA champion right now or something.
he's going to school for an entire year.
Yep.
He's going to school. So it's
I don't know how they're going to work that.
It's a publicity stunt. Like right now, his contract with WWE is actually what they call an NIL contract. It's a name, image, likeness contract is what it is.
Interesting.
And yet, when that contract ends after his year of school, he's supposed to immediately become a WWE superstar.
Oh, okay.
So he technically has a year left at the University of Minnesota before he actually can even participate in WWE. Now, granted, he can participate in advertisements to try to get people to watch WWE programming while still being a member of the University of Minnesota. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting to see how they toy with that without necessarily fucking with his NCAA career.
You think they might do anything like to the lengths of maybe show highlights, like maybe
they've already done that, like with SummerSlam or whatever, where they had him and the female gold medalist, where they actually showed their highlights of winning the gold medals and everything.
Gotcha.
So the name, image, likeness stuff is more supposed to be sponsoring events around the country for that product.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works for the WWE.
Okay.
However, don't be surprised to see Gable Steveson all of a sudden leave the WWE and become part of AEW when his contract runs out.
Oh, so you could only see it for one run?
Well, it depends. I mean, if they take really good care of his character, he obviously is getting to keep his own name, which already speaks volumes because obviously as a gold medalist, you're gonna say, yeah, we want you to keep your name, right? But it also means that when or if he leaves, you run into the aspect of, well, he gets to keep his name because it is his name. It's not a name, image, likeness thing. It's physically his name. So it's the same thing as when Kurt Angle left and got to continue being Kurt Angle, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, now on Monday night, what did everybody think of Monday night?
Oh man.
It was so bad 2 weeks ago that the go home show that we went to for the pay-per-view, and then the next week it was good, not as good as the week before, and now this week
I mean, we got rematches. I mean, we just got pointless rematches. I mean,
it's like they get hot, they hit, and they okay, we got it, and the next okay, we got, and then this week they're like, oh, well, what happened? They forgot what you know what I'm saying? They forgot that they had it.
Yeah, can we please get Damian Priest some fresh competition? like
I
Sheamus
was
here, Jeff
almost
Hardy.
under the impression that they were probably going to let him win. I thought they were going to switch off the titles. I thought that he was going to win the U.S. strap and they were going to bring the Intercontinental strap to Raw somehow. That's what I thought they were doing. Just like I thought when they fought, I was surprised when Charlotte fought that the EST. I'm surprised. I thought that should have been for the title, so that way they could, since Charlotte's going to SmackDown, let Bianca win the title and keep it on Raw. Yes, she's going to be facing them in a triple threat, her and Sasha Banks, but since Becky's coming to Raw too, they could have dropped that to Sasha and solved that problem right there.
Well, except Becky
either
now
have
brings
Becky
the
or-
SmackDown title over to Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now you're right though. When it comes to the decision making of, oh shit, we already announced that Charlotte's going over to SmackDown. You look at it and you're like, what were they thinking, right? Because Monday Night Raw is a 3-hour program and whatever, but you probably should have just waited until Monday night to sit there and say, oh, we're going to draft Charlotte Flair, the champion, right?
mm-hmm.
At the same time, you know, you're talking about the possibility of moving championships and everything else. Apparently, the draft isn't supposed to fully take effect until after Crown Jewel now.
Right.
Which is stupid, right? But it allows them to sit there and make these different matches for the different championships and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like the Becky versus whatever and more specifically the Bianca versus Charlotte main event. The last time they traded the women's champions, on the way out the door, both of them did the job.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, they're too afraid to have Charlotte do the job.
She's going to have to eventually.
I mean, yeah.
Well, she's going to have to eventually, but they're too afraid right now to have her do the job, and that's the problem with it. Is that she's sitting there as the women's champion on Raw, even though everybody didn't want her to be the champion on Raw to begin with. And now she's moving over to SmackDown, and everybody's sitting there going, well, she's going to be protected as the women's champion on SmackDown.
I was kind of thinking, I don't know, that Bianca Bianca could have won the title. And then at the Crown Jewel, let Becky win and be Becky 2 belts. And then that way she can have the Raw Championship and then figure out a way or in that 3-way, I don't know, put the belts up somehow to where it would go to the different brand. You know what I mean? Like let's see, I don't even know how to work because they've got 2 Raw divas in that 3-way.
So I think that the easiest way to do it,
they should have had Charlotte versus Bianca for the belt last night. Is what they should have done.
They should have.
Yeah.
But even though it wasn't for the belt, Bianca should have won.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she's the one representing the brand going forward, and Charlotte is the one walking away. So
right.
you have her do the job for the person that you want to make look like the superstar. And they didn't do that. And that's where my problem is with that. And I almost wonder whether or not it's because they're afraid that Charlotte's going to walk away when her contract is up.
She's got to drop the belt. She is the Raw champion. She's got to drop that belt.
They're just going to pass off the championships. Now that you got 2 heel two heel champions, it's going to be Becky sitting there saying, "Why don't you just give me that belt? You give me, I'll give you my belt."
So it's pretty much
the deal with the tag team belts last year.
So pretty much a New Day, Street Profits switcheroo.
Except last year when they did it, it was two baby faces that did it.
Right.
And they were like, well, what's the easiest way to do this? Oh, just handing the belts over and totally cool. We'll do that.
Same time.
When it comes to the women's championships, we know that Becky and Charlotte have heat, right? So having them sit there and do it, you almost have them sitting there going, I'll give you mine, you give me yours, but it's got to be at the same moment. Like you keep a little heat there, especially knowing that they're going to face each other at Survivor Series, right?
Yeah. I mean, if anything, this definitely will generate buzz heading towards Survivor Series, which, by the way, they are struggling in selling tickets for Survivor Series.
Well, Jason, the number one reason why tickets struggle to sell is because you haven't given them a reason to buy them.
Bingo.
And what that really means here is this. It's great that we've got people going into buildings again, right? It's great that we've got people willing to show up at events. Mm-hmm. But if you don't tell me what the fuck I'm watching, how the fuck do I want to watch it?
Fair point.
Like WrestleMania. I know people that went to WrestleMania 25 and they got lucky because they got to watch Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. But imagine if you were at WrestleMania 9 and you got to watch Roddy Piper versus Goldust. Do you really want to sit there and spend $1,000 on a ticket to that bullshit?
Nope.
Tino?
Yeah, I can't say that I did. No.
Mm-hmm. But yet, you sit there and you get a ticket to WrestleMania 17 and you know that you're getting Austin versus The Rock.
Take my money now.
Take my life savings at this point. and it'd be worth it because WrestleMania 17 is still looked at as the number one WrestleMania of all time, not just because of the main event, but because of the entire event.
But Raw, like I said, and we were going back to Raw not being up to snuff. Another thing that baffled me about Raw was Shayna Baszler came out. She manhandled Mandy Rose.
And then she got traded over to SmackDown.
Oh, it was Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke.
I'm not done. Hold on.
Dana Brooke.
Before that, she had Mandy down. Doudrop came out. She attacked Doudrop. You think that they're maybe possibly going to have something, and she gets traded to SmackDown.
But hold on. Again.
After Crown Jewel.
So you've got a couple weeks that you can still play with different storylines.
Like,
not to mention, there's always the supplemental draft where they just move people randomly because they're like, oh shit, they're still in a story with this person.
I don't understand. And now Drew McIntyre is going to SmackDown after he made the whole, I'm going to challenge Big E for the belt. Now he's gone. You got the Hurt Business getting back together, and you send Kofi and Xavier to SmackDown and leave Big E by himself.
Yeah. Why not?
But, Big E and Drew's going to happen at Crown Jewel. So if anything, that's a big boost to, help.
That, Lashley is still there wanting Big E. He's got the Hurt Business. Big E doesn't have his backup anymore because the dumbasses traded them to SmackDown.
But at the same time, you have to look at it like this. Look at the Hurt Business right now. They just got destroyed by Goldberg, and they lost to the New Day in 4 minutes. They look like chumps right now, and they're just all of a sudden they're randomly together.
Jason, you've been watching Raw. Does that? They'll be strong next week. Does that? The booking does? You know the booking on Raw doesn't make sense. Yeah, they got handed their asses by Goldberg. 2 weeks from now, the Hurt Business is going to be on top of the game again. When MVP comes back, just the writing and the booking on Raw.
MVP was back this week.
Yeah, I didn't see MVP wasn't back this week.
No, he wasn't back this week.
No,
I think he's still recovering.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, the booking doesn't make sense on Raw. It never has. Yeah, they sucked ass. They got beat up by Goldberg. Mark my words. 3 weeks from now, they're going to be down it again. They're going to forget like Goldberg never whipped their asses at the same time. Rob's laughing because he knows I'm right.
Well,
you know what? I'll take you up on that. If you're right.
Last week, Jason, I specifically asked Tino. I was like, "So Hurt Business got back together, right?" And he's like, "Yep." I was like, even though Bobby Lashley beat the shit out of the two of them, and he goes, "Yeah, they did it in a totally like good way." And I watched it, and I'm sitting there still wondering, like, why would these two guys who got the shit beat out of them by Bobby Lashley come back down to the ring and want to defend him?
And now they're cool. Just out of nowhere, they're cool now.
Welcome to Raw Booking 101.
Oh man.
No, Chris, I've never had to fight Goldberg. What I'm saying is the way that WWE writes right now. Yes, and they should have Goldberg should have handled them easily like he did. What I'm saying is 3 weeks from now, that's not going to matter. It's going to be like it never happened.
Right.
I was addressing Chris Barrett.
No. But I agree with you. And that's just it, is that like everything that they do is only for their own agenda, right? And they don't ever bring up the past, or they don't ever bring up the fact that this character turned from babyface to heel, and then 6 months later they move back to babyface or whatever, unless it actually moves their agenda. They don't ever actually bring up the past because they don't want you to remember it. And the downside of that is that we all fucking remember it.
Oh yeah.
We remember when Steve Austin turned on his fans. We remember when CM Punk ran away with the championship. We remember when Dominic Mysterio decided he wanted to sit there and
Eddie was his poppy.
And Eddie was his poppy because now, in fact, the best way to push that story forward with him and his dad would by him sitting there going, "But you're not my real dad anyway." Oh. And him turning heel, stating that Rey Mysterio isn't his real dad and that Eddie Guerrero was.
And he comes out to Eddie's music. Viva la raza!
Orale!
I'd watch that.
I'd be down. And,
I mean,
they're both on Raw now, so.
Of course, because the way the draft works, you just draft a tag team or an entire fucking faction like Hit Row. I mean, why not? Why not draft an entire fucking faction like Hit Row? Like, hey, let me go ahead and draft 17 people. I'm going to draft the NWO, the black and white and red version, at the end. I'm just going to pick all of those guys. So Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, the Giant, fucking Hulk Hogan, Buff Bagwell, Scott Norton. I'm going to take all 17 of those guys in the draft on one pick.
Hey, put up Barrett's second one, the WWE creative one. What do you think of that, Jason?
don't think that it's WWE Creative who's making those calls. I think it's the producers who are refusing to go and bring those things to Vince.
because they don't want
Uh,
Vince is going to tear up a script.
I
I
think
don't
I,
know
I
if the
think
show
that's
goes in the air.
I think that is. I think at one point, yeah, I would say that. I think it's kind of a mix of both, but I do agree that some of that has happened, but at the same time, I just like I feel like you have those times where you have WWE taking advantage of those few history making moments. For example, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, WrestleMania. Capitalized on that. Capitalized with Kofi Kingston becoming WWE champion. Like there, it's like they kind of cherry pick certain things, but miss out on so many of other obvious ones. Like, I got to throw this in there because this one still bothers me a lot to this day. WWE had the perfect opportunity of doing something that no other promotion has ever done before. Freaking Kairi Sane versus Asuka.
We
And
talked
they
about this.
teased it. They teased it on Raw Talk. And it has never happened. And we don't know if it ever will happen. Like, that is
on the way to the show, Rob.
That is
What?
like the one ticking time bomb thing that I just do not like about WWE. That just
This was a 20-minute conversation on the car ride.
but I'll leave it at that.
He was salty about that for like 20, 25 minutes. He went on about that for 20, 25 minutes on the car ride to the show Saturday.
So this has nothing to do with me.
No.
Okay.
He's still pissed
No,
off.
and
I thought we
know,
screwed
but
out.
to be,
Look at
to
him.
be
I
honest
thought
with
we
you,
calmed you down, Jason. He's still mad. Look at him.
Like,
yeah, Jason needs to eat some like beef bulgogi or something just to like ease that tension.
I need pounds of it. Shoot.
Yeah,
Oh,
pounds of bulgogi. The problem that you run into there is that while Jason and slews of Asian American fans would be down for that match, the way that they built the characters up in WWE didn't allow for that to be something that would have really sold on Monday Night Raw. And I'm not defending it. That is a fact, right? And unfortunately, it is a fact because had they developed it correctly, they would have developed it the same way that they developed the Rockers or the way that they developed any other tag team that splits at some point. Like, for example, the Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax tag team. They finally took a female tag team and gave them the same treatment that they would give a male tag team, where at some point they had been tag team champs. They had done everything they could as tag team champs, and then they started getting irritated with each other, right? And towards the end of the irritation, it became, oh, you can't have a one-on-one match for the title. I want a one-on-one match for the title. And before you know it, it caused dissension between the team and caused the team to break up. Now we're finally seeing Shayna Baszler as the badass that she really is, right? But it took, 4 years on the main roster now?
It was a couple. I mean, the last time she was really dominant was Elimination Chamber when she wrecked everybody. But
right, but that was shortly after she bit somebody in the neck.
Oh yeah, Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
So it's about time that they finally go, oh, Shayna Baszler's a badass? Okay. Like, as soon as I would have heard, Ronda Rousey wants to have a kid rather than come back to the WWE, I would have been like, who else we got that can do what she does? Oh, Shayna Baszler? Fucking put her in that role.
And put your hair up and square up.
Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
What about her?
She's
MMA
MMA background.
Yeah, she's legit too. MMA
Yeah,
background.
but she doesn't want to wrestle. So
No,
now they're pushing her. Now they're pushing her finally to get back in the ring against Naomi.
And I think that's going to be. I'd be interested in seeing that matchup with her and Shayna, which I think if they're pushing her back now, once she's done with Naomi, I can see that being a program.
I mean,
Oh
maybe.
yeah, because I mean, Sonya seems to have more of an identity with SmackDown as compared to Raw, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, being that Shayna Baszler's going to SmackDown, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's all a possibility, but the factor behind it still remains like, what's the story? Why am I invested? Why do I want to be a part of it? Is it just because two badasses want to get in the ring? Because unfortunately, when it comes to the WWE and women's wrestling, that is very rarely the story they try to tell.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the men, I mean, look at Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. That's exactly the story they're trying to tell.
Yep.
Two badasses getting in the ring with the character that sits between them being a linchpin to sit there and determine the way that the story is going to be written out, right?
Speaking of, Paul Heyman was perfect last night. When they announced the Usos going to SmackDown, he's in the background praising God. Thank you. He told, and then he's walking with the Usos, and a guy came up to him. He told him, he said, "Well, you're prettier than Kayla." But the look on his face when the guy asked him, "Did you use your your pull to make Brock Lesnar a free agent?" and the look like he legitimately, and you and I have talked about this. He looked like he's about to shit his pants when the Usos look at him. But that's Paul Heyman. He's so good at that. He looked like he's about to shit his pants, and then they walked away. Then he looked back towards the announcer like, "I ought to beat your ass."
we talk about We talk about the MVP of WWE programming a lot, Tino.
And that is Paul Heyman.
And a lot of times we sit there and we go, "Oh man, it's Sheamus," or "Oh man, it's this guy," or "Oh man, it's this guy." The fact of the matter is that it's always Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
There is no question that he is the reason why you continue to watch. Even if he only gets 3 words in. But I had no, and that's it. You know that the storyline around him is why you watch.
Makes sense.
And it would have been amazing for them to sit there and say Brock Lesnar's been drafted to SmackDown and Paul Heyman's been drafted to Raw. Like, that would have been something where everybody would be like, what the fuck just happened, right? But the reason why Paul Heyman doesn't go to Raw is because that's the show that Vince is most involved with. Seeing Kevin Owens go back over to Raw now actually leads me to wonder whether or not, come like December, Kevin Owens gets a run with the world title.
To keep him away from the Owen Hart Cup at AEW.
Well, you know that specifically, like you just said, Tino, last week I said, did you notice that they didn't announce a specific date for the Owen Cup? And I think the reason why is because they want Kevin Owens to be part of it.
Makes sense.
And Kevin Steen winning that cup would probably be the second biggest moment of his entire life, behind Triple H giving him the Universal Championship.
Yeah, and we also got to remember Kevin Owens still hasn't won the WWE Championship.
However, he has won the Universal Championship.
Yep.
We think and Sami Zayn stays on SmackDown.
I think it's good that you keep the two of them away from each other at this point.
Here's my thing. I was kind of disappointed in the draft because nobody, for the most part, everybody stayed where they were. I mean, you had a few switches, but for the most part, they didn't really. I was underwhelmed with the draft.
I don't know, man. You had Becky Lynch switch. You had Charlotte Flair switch. That's huge.
Yes. I mean, I'm saying you did have some huge, but for the most part, they kept the rosters the same.
The only two moves that did not make a lick of sense to me was Ridge Holland and Hit Row.
I don't even know who Ridge Holland is.
Yes, you did. He's the one running around with the bruiserweight.
Yeah, has the
right.
The
Okay,
nice
so I do know who that was.
Yeah.
The Hit Row thing, it's too early.
Yep. And Swerve is the North American champion.
Swerve is the only one out of that group
yet to defend the North American Championship.
And again, Swerve is the only one who's ready. If they move Swerve, I'd understand that. But to move everybody,
yeah, because B-Fab is still green. Top Dollar, I mean, he is a little. He's like maybe
he's getting
Top
better,
Dollar.
But he's still green.
He's like maybe a level above B-Fab. Ashanti Diadonis, I mean, he's competed on 205 Live, so I mean he's gotten his feet wet. But
I'm surprised that they kept Gargano and Ciampa if they're trying to keep a younger.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean those are still two big NXT stars.
Well, here's what I think there is that one, they're afraid they're not going to re-sign them.
Which I agree.
Two, their contracts are up probably December.
Mm-hmm.
Three, you need to have established talent to determine who is going to be the next big players in NXT.
But if Vince is trying to get rid of what do we say?
But Tino, you know as well as anybody else that, like, look back at what Paul Heyman used to say when it would come to trying to develop the next brand. And it was always, you develop it with young talent, right? Mm-hmm. So 29 and under, you develop it with that. You develop it with certain people that grab the attention of the audience. And then you have 2 or 3 guys or women that don't meet the mold. But you can't do it with everybody, but you do it with 2 or 3 of them.
But the way I see it is that it's like business. Say you're working at a business, right? And and a new company comes in and they take over and they bring their management. They're going to keep the old management for 6 months so they get to know, what's going on there. And then they fire them or they get rid of them and bring in their own people anyway. That's the way I'm looking at NXT. They're like I said, yes, right now they're going to have Ciampa and Gargano as a backbone and as the old regime. And as soon as they get these new kids up the par, Gargano and Ciampa are gone. Now, my only problem is, are they going to the main roster or are they going to be featured endeavored?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, Jason's not wrong with this statement there. It really is one of those moments where you don't know the answer until it happens. However, you have to assume that considering that even though the power of Triple H has been diminished with NXT,
Right.
that there are certain people that when Vince came and said, I'm taking over this, you still get to oversee it day to day because I don't have time. But Kevin Dunn's here, this guy's here, Laurinaitis is here, blah, blah, blah. That Triple H still sat there and said, well, that's great. These three guys are the guys that I want. We can mess around with everything. I will do Pop, you know that I'll do everything that you say because I always follow your lead, Pop. But these guys have been NXT since they signed, and I want to keep them in NXT because they are NXT. And that's truly what I think that Triple H has probably had that conversation when it comes to Vince McMahon at this point.
But you know what's really interesting though with this draft? The one person that I feel like will be the sleeper, and what I mean by this is this could either go really, really good for her, like story wise, success wise, or it can be extremely bad, like to the lowest of the lows.
Carmella.
I actually was going to say Xia Li.
Okay.
Now,
Well, of course you were.
Yeah.
the reason why I say Xia Li is because, okay, her first main roster destination, SmackDown. One thing I could definitely see happening, her being thrown into a storyline with Shayna Baszler. And it's an interesting sort of setup being that, you know, Xia Li, we have to remember, is a martial artist. Shayna Baszler, MMA, catch wrestling. They could really do some things with that. And also keep in mind, it might not be anytime soon. It could be years from now, but it would not surprise me if at some point they put the title on Xia Li and she becomes the first Chinese WWE Women's Champion.
As much as that would be cool, I don't see it happening.
Really? Y'all honestly don't see it happening? Even if it was like 4 years later, y'all don't see it happening?
So
it doesn't. She's not.
We got a ways to
Vince
go
looking
to
for.
get there.
Huh?
A ways to go to get there.
Understandable.
And she doesn't fit the mold that Vince is looking for, unfortunately, in a champion. I'm surprised that because while you did have Sasha and you did have Bianca as champion, Zaya's too thick. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't fit that body type that Vince is looking for.
Well, I think that her character change that they put her through is something that would most likely be something that Vince would be like, I can run with this. At the same time, if Vince wasn't involved with it from the beginning, I don't think Vince is going to understand it. And as such, we're going to run into the same problems that he's got with like Karrion Kross at this point.
I mean, if you put it that way, part of me kind of wonders what sort of like pull or endorsement of Xia Li to the main roster really, where did that come from? Because I mean, you got to think, the last match she wrestled was against Raquel Gonzalez for the title. You know, her first ever title shot on NXT. And you know, I know she took that really bad splash from Raquel Gonzalez, which they did confirm that she was okay afterwards. I didn't think she was going to miss this much time. I thought she had cracked a rib, but like, there's got to be some sort of reasoning behind, you know, out of all the ladies they could bring up, they bring up Xia Li, where they could have announced Dakota Kai. They could have announced a Io Shirai.
Don't
Like,
get me wrong. her athleticism. I'm not saying her athleticism. I don't think she's going to be I agree with Healer. She'll be a tag champion. I don't think they're going to put I don't think they're going to put the women's strap on her. I don't think Vince will do that. Again, like Rob said, because it's not a Vince creation. And she didn't have the look that he seems to like, the smaller, like Asuka, while she is Asian, but she's smaller. She's got that, you know what I'm saying? She's not, I don't think Vince has ever had a heavy female champion. And that sucks to say, because I think Zaya would be an excellent champion.
But how is she labeled as heavy though? Like,
well, in Vince's thick. Yeah, you can look at Charlotte Flair, beanpole. Look at Asuka, small. Look at Alexa Bliss. You name one thick women's champion. He's put one thick woman. He's put that belt on.
I mean, there's Asuka.
But she's smaller than Zaya.
No, she is not. Excuse me, no, she is not. Kana, less thicker than Zaya. Oh no, she is not. Yes, no. Come on, Tino. Come on, Tino. Come on, Tino. Nah. We got no. Kana.
He did not put the belt on Bertha Faye, Chris Barrett. Did you see Chris Barrett?
What did Chris Barrett say?
World Championship on Bertha Faye. Get out of here, Chris.
Oh man. But you got to remember, Tino. One, I understand Asuka's very big on the cardio.
Yeah.
But Xia Li, I mean, one, not that age is too big of a factor, but she's a little younger. Plus, I mean, really, most of Zaya's thickness is in her legs, whereas Asuka has it all around.
And Terrence, the only reason Nia Jax had that championship is because she's related to The Rock.
Oh yeah, The Rock's cousin.
And Natalya is because she's a heart. Mickey James. Okay, I give you Mickey James. I forgot about Mickey James.
Piggy James.
I forgot about Mickey James. You got me on that one, Terrence. I forgot
Piggy. Piggy. What are we talking about?
Thick women's champions. Bailey?
I mean Nia Jax.
That's what I'm saying, though. But that's because she's related to The Rock.
Yes.
While we're doing the job, I did forget one thing, and I don't think we talked about NXT, but Jason and I talked about it, was the honeymoon of Index. And I think my favorite part of that, I had two favorite parts, where Johnny went out in the water and he made them go back in the room, and then he's like, oh, they're back in the room, and his wife's like, there's a bed in the room. They're like, well, what could happen in a bed? And then they both look at her stomach, and then he goes and he hides in the closet till they fall asleep. First, like, they're having a pillow fight, and he's in there covering his ears like they're doing it. And then, but when he first walked in the room, he found that whole thing of condoms. And then he waited to come out of the closet, and Dexter's sleeping. He wakes up, gives him a thumbs up, and pulls that whole thing of condoms out of his bathrobe. That whole thing had me laughing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Naomi was related to The Rock too by marriage. Come on, Terrence, I got it all. I got all the answers.
Yeah, she's a two-time champion, even though they're doing her wrong. But she's
they're doing her wrong on purpose so that they can actually bring her to the forefront by giving her a storyline with the authority figure.
Right. Which I can't wait to see that come more to fruition.
I mean, is Sonya Deville going to be ready to have a match with her?
I think she's still training. So they said she's still, excuse me, training at the center, the PC center.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they all?
Chris Barrett's still on the birthday thing.
Oh my God.
Chris Barrett, you're right.
Tino, man, me and you, man, we got some issues now.
I'm telling you, Oscar is smaller than Zaya.
You crazy? You got. We're talking about Kana, Oscar Kana. Come on, team.
I only know about Oscar. I don't know who this Kana person is you're talking about.
Kana is the Oscar is Kana before she became Oscar.
It's true, and on like TikTok, she's still Kana, but regardless, I got nothing else.
Me neither. But you,
I want to thank Jason for actually joining tonight for the.
Me and Jason have heat now.
Oh man,
good. It's not just me and you that have heat.
No, me and Jason have heat.
You and
now.
Jason have heat now too. Jason and I'll go eat bulgogi together, and
what's the eat bulgogi?
No, you're not allowed to eat bulgogi because you got heat.
You can't come.
I think I can keep my emotions in check for a night of bulgogi with y'all, but Tino, but for sure, Tino, this is a TBC.
What? Well, you almost got us, or your friend almost got us arrested because we stayed in that damn diner too long.
I mean, I'm so surprised that not a single employee even said anything. We were an hour past closing time.
But that's because she told us that they were 24 hours, and I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, there's nobody else in this restaurant. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was fun though. It was good food too.
Oh yeah, that was a delicious meat lover's omelet.
All right.
Woo!
All right.
Woo!
So you catch him on the Twitter machine. He is at Podcheck. I'm HoodieFan91. Jason, Twitter.
Blitzball_champ. Capital B, capital C.
And on Twitter, we are Potsy and Tino. on the Instagram, he is Rob Podcheck. I am SC Tino. What are you on Instagram, Jason?
Blitz. I am.
And you're listening to the Potsy and Tino Show.
I can't shut it off.
Blitzball_champ on the IG. Lowercase b, lowercase c.
Rob,
All right,
you're an asshole.
I gotta shut
I
up.
wasn't even done.
Keep going, Tino.
No, because you don't you fucking do it.
I fixed it.
On TikTok, he is Rob Potsy Podcheck. On TikTok, we're the Potsy and Tino Show. As always, you can check us out on YouTube each and every week, right here on Tuesday, normally at 8, unless Rob makes us late. You can also
not because Rob makes us late. We're always late.
Check it's usually your
8:15.
Usually he's saying, my computers. I'm telling you, you should turn it in for a MacBook or something. And then
Go ahead.
I hope you fucking choke. Anyway,
Wow.
check us out on Facebook. We're the Potsy and Tino Show. As always, we want to say thank you to Adam.
Hey guys, this is Jay.
Wow. His face is... Oh, he can't help himself.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I put it down. I put it down. Go ahead.
As always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for our theme song. It's a wrestling song. A wrestling song you get on iTunes for 99. Fuck it. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'm Tino. That's Jason. That's Bob the Asshole. Until next week, we're out, folks. Good night. Peace. Horseman.
Tony Schiavone, to be the man, you've got to beat the man, and I am the man.